Today we're going to talk about steering box adjustment. I'm going to show you how I adjust the steering box, and I'll also show you how the VW service manual tells you to adjust the steering box. Slightly different, not much, but just a little bit. First thing you want to do is find the center or high spot in the steering box. In the center of the steering box, there's a slight tighter spot in the middle, right where the steering wheel is in the middle, versus if it's far to the left or far to the right. So what you want to do is find the center. It's basically going to count the turns lock to lock. So I'm going to take a clip right here. I'll put it on the center of the top of the steering wheel, and I'll count my turns. I got 1, 2, and a little bit over half. So half of that will be the center of my steering box. So it's going to be a little over 2.5. So about a little bit over 1 1/4. So if I put this at about the 1 1/4 spot, so I've got my center, and the way I know that is because I've got just a little bit over 1 1/4 turns in each direction. So right now it's in the center of the steering. I'll go 1 and a little bit over 1/4 is going to be all the way to my right lock. There's my center again, and I'll go 1 and a little bit over the quarter, a little bit over 1/4, and that's the left lock. So I go back to center. Okay, now right there is going to be the center. That's going to be the center of the steering. That's where your high spot is, in the center of the worm gear on the steering box. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the box. What I want to show you is that first we'll get the box out of adjustment. We'll back the adjusting screw off a little bit. And we're in the middle right now, and there's a click of play when I'm in the middle. Now if I get off center, let's go to the left or something. You got a lot of play. I'm back in the middle there. I go to the right. Got a lot of play, a lot of slop there. Obviously needs to be adjusted. Now as I run the screw in, with the box in the middle, you want to take just until that play is gone, right there. See, if I back the screw up a little bit, you have to trust me on this. I back the screw up, we get slop, and then you just take the play out right there. Okay? So about right there, there's no play in the steering box. Now, I turn the wheel, I turn to the right, see how much play there is? That's because we're not in the center of the steering box anymore. I go back to center, and the play is gone, okay? Now I go half a turn to the left. Once again, you've got a lot of play in the steering box. You go back to center, and the play is gone. Go half a turn to the right, lots of play. Back to center, play is gone. Back to the left, lots of play. Back to center, play is gone. Right there, you want to lock it down. What I'll probably do is I'll put some Permatex High Tack on the screw so that it doesn't seep oil. A lot of times it'll weep oil out of the adjusting screw, and then lock the nut down right there, torque it to spec. Now what Volkswagen says to do in the service manual is to adjust it until there's about 20.83 inch-pounds of drag when you're in the center spot, the high spot of the steering box. Now they call that the pressure point when it is in the center of the steering box. It's kind of an odd way to go about this. I think that's actually too tight. So we'll show you that. Later on in the service manual, it says that when the steering box is in the truck, it should be adjusted by feel, but should only be done by a technician that knows how to adjust the steering box. So they don't have a real clear, definitive way to adjust the steering box other than to say, as this operation is done by feel, it should only be carried out by mechanics who have sufficient experience on this particular type of work. So that's kind of interesting that they say that. Okay, I turned the column so now you can see the steering wheel, and once again we're at the center right now, so I want to show you that if we go a little bit over a turn and a quarter, there's our left stop, there's our center, and there's our right stop. So we go back to center, and I've got the steering box adjusted to where there's no play in the steering box right there. I can't move the arm up and down, okay? Now if I loosen that a little bit, there's our click, there's our play. Run it in, just till there's no play, okay? And that's where I like it, right there. Now notice again, you get off center, got a healthy click. Go back to center, no click. Off center again, there's our healthy click, showing you the high spot in the steering box. Now what Volkswagen wants you to do is they want to have it tight enough that you actually have 20 inches of drag. So where they want it right is about right there. You got right about 20 inch-pounds of rotating torque. If you guys have ever set up differentials on a like an American car or something like that, that's how you check the pinion drag when you've got the pinion bearing properly preloaded. Pinion bearing in a differential has to be preloaded by several thousandths, and you check the adjustment of the preload of the pinion bearing in a diff by seeing how much rotating torque it takes to turn the pinion when the ring gear is not in it. The ring gear and the carrier in the case is not in it. You just have the pinion bearing and the pinion all by itself. See, this is kind of tight. I don't really particularly like this. In my opinion, you're going to fight this going down the road because the truck is not going to want to find center by itself. It's not going to want to follow the road. That's called tracking. How a vehicle acts when it's going straight down the road is called tracking. And it's not going to want to track nice because it's actually taking too much pressure to turn the steering wheel. Now the only difference here, if you're adjusting the steering box in the truck, is that you need to remove the drag link so that you can access the pitman arm freely. So you just drop the drag link and adjust the pitman, adjust the steering box as if you would on the bench. Now where Volkswagen wants this adjusted is like this. I'm at the far left lock right now. Notice it's free until right before I get to center. Right there is going to be my high spot. And then past the high spot, it's free again. But then you get to the high spot and it gets stiff again like that. See, now that's going to take some torque. You're going to have to fight that to go straight down the street. You're going to have to fight that a little bit to go straight down the road, okay? Now the difference between where I like to have it adjusted and where Volkswagen likes to have it adjusted is just a very small amount. Right now it's where Volkswagen likes it. It's on the tight side, and then just that much right there, and the steering wheel is as free as a bird going through the center spot. And when it's in the center, it doesn't have any play in the pitman arm. So the difference between where Volkswagen wants it and I want it is just a few degrees of the screw. And that's awfully tight, if you ask me. I don't like it when it's that tight. What I like to have is a nice smooth steering adjustment right there where it's in the middle and there's no binding and no tightness. Volkswagen wants a little bit of tightness. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm going to adjust mine just that few degrees on the loose side. It's only the difference between like right there and right there is probably not even 10 or 20 degrees on the adjustment screw. So that's how I adjust the steering box. Don't forget to put oil in it when you put it in the truck, and good luck to you. So talk to you soon.